Hey, everybody. Welcome to part 3 of our summer school success series. Man, that is a mouthful, but
Yes.
hopefully it's a
S
happy
S
summer
S.
school
The
success
four S's
series. Yeah.
series. Four.
Hopefully, if you've been listening to parts 1 and 2. If not, I would say, go back for a recap. We talked a lot about how important a routine is, as well as the power of experiential learning and capitalizing on some of the downtime that summer offers to really dive into those experiential opportunities where you can get real world hands-on experience with things that you might really enjoy learning. And that kind of ties in perfectly to today's topic, which is vision, right? It's so easy. I think we hear vision a lot, and vision boards have kind of become a popular thing in the last several years where, it's New Year's resolution time. Instead of setting a resolution, set a vision for your year. What do you want to accomplish in that year, right? What's your vision? What's your end goal? And so a vision is really kind of a workable thing where maybe you can set a vision just for the summer. By the summer, hey, what does success look like for me this summer? Well, maybe it's that I finish the course that I started. Maybe it's I finally take a test that I've been putting off, or whatever it looks like. It doesn't have to be a big grand, I'm going to write a novel by the end of summer. Maybe that's too much, right? But you can kind of work backwards from kind of your main goal and put it into micro steps to get there. And then on a grander scale, what's your vision for your life? What does success look like for you? And as Sarah and I were prepping for this topic, we were like, yeah, like what is a vision for life, right? And a lot of times we tie a vision to maybe a tangible thing, whether that's I'm going to own a mansion, or I'm going to be married with 4 kids, or I'm going to be a successful CEO. And those are great goals. Don't get me wrong. But some of those are outside of our control. And so as we dial in on vision, what we want to kind of emphasize is what is your vision for how you want to feel in life, right? What is your end goal of, I want to look back on my life and I want to say, hey, I was a content person. I was a happy person. I was a kind person. How do you want to feel? What is the feeling you want to come away with as your vision? Right? Because sometimes when we tie our vision to tangible goals, we might be disappointed, and then that's earth-shattering for our confidence, right? A good example of that might be, let's say, there's a woman who, I just want to be a mom. I just want to be a mom. That's my vision. That's my vision for my life. Success for me will be when I become a mom. Okay, well, what happens when infertility strikes or something happens that derails that vision that's maybe outside of your control, right? You can't control infertility. That's an unexpected curveball. So that's kind of what we're getting at here is how do you want to feel? So maybe your goal is I want to feel happy and a part of something bigger than myself, right? So that could be, oh, I'm the favorite aunt. I'm going to show up for my nieces and nephews. Oh, I'm a school teacher. I'm going to love those kids and teach those kids, right? And that can kind of give you a similar feeling of, I want to be a mom, but at the same time, it's not, that's your whole identity. Does that make sense how I'm explaining that?
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. I think it's really thought provoking, honestly, like just to really think about that kind of things, those kind of things on a deeper level. Because it's easy to think about the surface level, the tangible things that we want to accomplish or achieve in life.
Mhm.
And it's maybe a little bit more out of the box to think about it in a different way. Like, how do you want to treat people? How do you want, people to perceive you? What do you want your relationships to be like?
Mhm.
Um, what things do you care about? What's important to you?
Yeah.
Like those are really deep, thought-provoking questions, but it's worth thinking about, especially approaching summer school, because it's a time when maybe we don't have a lot of motivation to do much of anything because it's like, man, we just got off this stressful school year. We just need a break from everything and just a time to unwind. Um, but some of us don't have a choice, and we do have to take classes during the summer. And if we don't, like we talked about in the previous episode, just how even if you're not taking a formal class, how beneficial experiential learning opportunities can be. And this is just such a good time to reflect and ask yourself some of those tough questions, like, where do I see myself at the end of the summer? Where do I see myself in a year, 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah.
What can I be doing now to help me be the person that I'm trying to be at those points in time, right? So this is my thought, this is my vision for the summer. What kind of things should I be doing now to be that person when that time comes?
Well, and I think that's part of having a growth mindset, right? Is, oh, I'm not going to just be, you mentioned out of the box thinking. That's a lot of what the growth mindset is asking those tough questions, getting to the deeper, deeper level questions instead of just surface level. Well, I want to be a good person. That's great. How do you get there? What are your values? What is important to you? What would happen if your values were taken away from you? Right? Like asking some of those questions. And I've said it episode after episode that I'm a huge proponent of journaling because it just, I don't know, triggers something in your brain. And even science says, hey, it's great that you're contemplating and you're thinking and you're pondering, but write it down. There's something about the act of actually writing something down that helps it stick in your brain. And so as you're sitting here wondering, what is my vision for the summer? What is my vision for my life? There's several questions you can just ask yourself and journal about. And we've kind of mentioned some of them, like what really matters to you in life, not what should matter, but what does matter, right? Because I think a lot of our vision and success is also determined by outside forces in society, where we feel the pressure of should. Well, I should be doing this. Okay, great. But is that something that actually is important to you? Because if it's not, then you're not going to be likely as tied to your vision because it's not an internal motivation. It's that external pressure that's, weighing on you. And so those are some important questions to ask. So pull out a journal, ask those questions. And then, what would you like to have more of in your life? And then what do you want in a career? What are your passions and your dreams? What do you want your relationships to be like? What qualities would you like to develop? What are your values? What issues are important to you? What are your talents? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What kind of legacy would you like to leave behind? Like those are the deeper level questions that I think will get you to an overall vision of your life. But, maybe for summer school, it becomes, how do I want to grow as a person this summer? What quality would I like to develop? Right. And those are smaller scale questions. But I think just pulling out a journal and asking and answering those questions can really just help you get to a deeper purpose and vision for what you're hoping to accomplish. And then that can tie into, hey, I do want to accomplish something by the end of summer. I don't want to just be the same I was when I left school, because now if I achieve my vision, then I'm just that much more prepared to start the next school year with more confidence, right? Maybe that's your vision for the summer. I want to be more confident. Okay, great. How are you going to do that? What are your action steps? How are you going to get there? Sit down, write them out and take action.
Think about who you're surrounding yourself with too,
Yeah.
Because it's easy, um, in a typical brick and mortar school to find a friend group, and then that's just kind of who your circle becomes. Maybe summer, away from some of your friends that you typically hang out with, it might be a time to reflect on that and ask yourself, are the people that I'm surrounding myself with helping me to become the best version of myself, or the people that are surrounding me bringing me down? That's a really tough question, because you might not want to hear the answer that you know is true. Sometimes we find ourselves just hanging with the wrong people that aren't helping us grow. They're bringing us down sometimes, even in certain cases, taking us, bringing us in the wrong direction. They're rowing the boat in the opposite direction of where we're trying to go. So summer is a good time to reflect on that and just ask yourself, am I surrounding myself with the people who are lifting me up, trying to make me a better person too? So
And again, we kind of harped on this last episode, but if you can learn that now, you're way further ahead of the game, right? If you don't have to wait to learn that in your 20s, then it's going to be much easier for you when you go to college or when you enter the workforce to realize, oh, hey, this might be a toxic person that's not good for me. I've already drawn the line. I know who I want to surround myself with because I know who I want to be. And so if you can learn that now, whew, you're way ahead of the game. And it'll just be a way valuable lesson that you can learn. And I'm constantly amazed by the youth when I have conversations with young adults and people that are even 10 to 12 years younger than me at like the lessons they're learning and when they're learning them compared to when I learned them. And I just look at them and I say, good job. Like, that's awesome. You're further ahead of the game than I was. Right. And that's my hope for everybody, is that they can just learn these things sooner so that they don't have to maybe go through some hard things to learn some lessons that they could have learned previously had to just put forth a little effort, right? And I get it. Effort is hard. It feels hard. It's work, right? And so if you can just get in that mindset now of like, all right, life is work, and how I perceive that work is going to make or break me, right? I can fight it, I can resist it, or I can lean into it and move through the discomfort, because let's be real, growth is not always going to be comfortable. There's a lot of times where you're totally outside your comfort zone and you're thinking, I don't want to have this conversation. It's going to be awkward, or that's going to be really hard. I just really don't want to do that. But if you can fight through that resistance and come out on the other side, dang, like, look how much you've grown and look at what you've learned, right? It's kind of like the challenges of life. I heard something the other day that was basically like, you can either be a buffalo or you can be a cow. And I was like, well, what's the difference, right? And basically what happens is when there's a storm, or let's say a challenge or something difficult that you don't want to deal with, if you're a buffalo, you head straight into the storm because you realize, if I head straight for it, I'll get through it faster. But a cow sees the storm coming and is like, nope, I'm going the other way. So then that storm follows them a little bit longer, right? And so they're stuck for longer. And I loved that analogy because it's so true. That's how it is with challenges, with growth, with the hard things. They're not going to go away just because you want them to. But if you can confront them sooner, you'll be a little bit more prepared and come out the other side quicker than just resisting and nope, 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 right? It's gonna take you longer to get there. So that to me was
and
like,
that's a great analogy. I like that a lot. And that's something that a lot of our kids are probably struggling with right now, with the school year winding down and thinking, oh, great, I get to do school during the summer. A bunch of my friends don't have to. Or maybe you're one of those students who can't wait to take summer classes to get further ahead. I think it's all in how you perceive it, and it might be a challenge for you, or it might not. School might come really easy to you. But if you're one of those kids who's just like, man, this has not come easy to me, the last thing I want to be doing this summer is taking more classes or learning anything. This is a good episode to listen to, because hopefully it gives some perspective on a few things. And if you just look at it in a different way, you might find it very helpful as you're working through this summer of classes and just life in general in the future as you move on and graduate and on to the next chapter of life. So
Awesome. Anyway, yeah, so that's part three of our summer school success and really life success series.
mm,
So let us know what resonated with you. If there was anything that really stood out to you, something that you've maybe put into practice that has worked, we'd love to hear it. We love to hear the success stories because really we're here just cheering students on, whether they're at our school or they're in a brick and mortar school or wherever they're learning. Like, we're just here cheering you on. We know that learning can be a struggle. We know it can be exciting, all the emotions in between. And we're just here as a resource to help provide insight, motivation, all the things as you're going through the craziness of school.
I'd love to see or hear about people's vision boards.
Yeah.
That'd be like a challenge that I would send out to listeners is put together a vision board. And I want to know what works for people, what you found has worked for you, because I think it's such a cool concept
Yeah.
to, some people might cut out pictures or make flow charts or whatever. So I'm just curious, like, what do you do? What works for you? Maybe I'll try implementing it.
I've done a vision board for the last couple of years. And the interesting thing about it is I don't check the boxes on everything, right? But I'm like, hey, I achieved that though. That's awesome. Right. And so it's kind of a lofty vision for me. But when I can check the box and say, hey, I did that, it's like, woohoo, I did it. Right. And that's the thing about vision boards is sometimes they might be on your board for more than 1 year because it might be a long-term vision versus, hey, this was a short term, I did it. Right. But yeah, I love that idea. So if you have vision boards that have worked for you, the setup, the layout, whatever, let us know. Share with us what works for you because, yeah, again, we're always looking for pointers to help students and adults alike to just learn and grow and be the best version of themselves. So drop it in the comments. Let us know. And we will
Thank
see
you guys.
you.